Very good afternoon, everyone, once again. I'm profoundly delighted to take an opportunity to welcome our next guest speaker for the day, who do not need any introduction, as he is well known among all of us for his expertise in the field of NBA and its processes. Professor Sandeep Grover, sir. He's a professor at JC Bose University of Science and Technology, YMCA, Faridabad. Dr. Sandeep Grover has obtained bachelor's degree in engineering, master's degree in technology, and PhD in the field of quality management. He has been authored about 100 papers in national and international journals and conferences. He has held various posts. Charges in parent institution include that of Vice Chancellor, Registrar, Dean, Head of Department, with more than 3 decades of experience. Dr. Sandeep Grover has always delivered expert lectures in various institutions in the country on the topic related to quality management in manufacturing, education quality, research and paper writing, and application of graph theoretic approach in various fields. He is also a member of AICTE. All India Council for Technical Education (MOE) has nominated Dr. Sandeep Grover as a Margdarshak under the Margdarshak initiative with an aim to mentor and enable technical education institutions to achieve accreditation by National Board of Accreditation. GVIM-ITM is honored and delighted to have Professor Sandeep Grover as a Margdarshak and mentor for NBA accreditation program. So without consuming any time, I would like to request Professor Sandeep Grover, sir, to take the session forward.
Okay, thank you so much. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so a very good afternoon to all of you. I am Sandeep Grover, and I will be taking a session. I will be taking 2 sessions on this NBA accreditation process. So, one will be the preliminary part of the basic introduction to outcome-based education, the part of the Bloom's taxonomy, and how do you go about the vision and the mission statements in this regard. So let me share my screen. Okay. So my screen is visible to you people.
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Okay. Yeah, so good afternoon. So let me start with this. So in this during these 2 sessions of NBA accreditation process, one is today and one is tomorrow. So that's why I have kept the name as holistically as the outcome-based education. And this will be the primarily, the organization of a presentation during these 2 days. So it will talk little about the introduction and the background part of this outcome-based education OB concept, and then we will talk about the objectives and the outcomes, the regulatory body requirements. That is how this concept of OB is not only in the technical education or maybe as a part of NBA process, but just apart from that, all the regulatory bodies have taken up this concept of outcome. And then we'll have insight into the background of this. That is a Bloom's taxonomy. What are the various levels of Bloom's taxonomy and how they are being used in the current processes in the OB system. And then teaching learning process, I think I will skip up right for now. Then the hierarchical structure, starting with the concept of vision mission statement and going down to the level of COs, that is the course outcomes. and then writing down the vision and mission statements, what point are to be taken, and with some examples of vision mission statements, PU and the POs, and then how do you write down this objectives and the outcomes. Finally, there is a lot of mapping that is required between the structures, be it the vision mission, or maybe the your mission with the PEO, your COPA mapping, or the question paper mapping. And very importantly, in the outcome-based education, that how do you assess the attainment of course outcomes and the program outcomes. That means at the end of the semester, how do you assess how much has been attained, and finally at the end of the program, how the things have attained. And I do have a case study with me, just to show that how do you find out these attainments. So I think this is what I intend to deliver during these 2 sessions of OBE. But apart from that, if there is any doubt, please ask me, and let this be more of an interactive session. And I'm sure that this is going to add some value, and I'm also going to learn a lot of things from you people. So let us start with this. Every program, whether it's a diploma program, a UG program, PG, any program. Now, when I use the word program in the very starting, let me clarify this, that as per the terminology, when I say program, it something like BTech in mechanical engineering, or say I'm taking VLSI, or say diploma in automobile. So those are the programs. And when I use the word course, so then that means we are talking about the subjects. So there is a little, always some confusions there, because normally we use the word courses, that what are the courses running in your institution and so on. So that's it. So any program, there are certain objectives and there are certain outcomes that we intend to achieve at the end of the program. So basically objectives are nothing but they are the statements which describe what learner is expected to achieve as a result of instruction. That means whatever you have taught as a knowledge, and tend to describe specific discrete units of knowledge and skill. Whereas what you expect at the end of the program are the broad aspects of the outcomes, which can be in terms of the knowledge, or it can be in the terms of the skill, or it can be the behavioral aspects. So I always say it like this, that the objectives and outcomes are like banks of a river. So on one side you got objectives, on another side you got outcomes. So you intend to achieve those outcomes during the process of the program, which can be a 2-year MBA program, or it can be a 4-year BTech program. So any activity you do during this time, so that has to be related to the objectives and the outcomes. So any expert lecture, any visit from industry, or you visiting the industry, or maybe some cultural program, sports activity. So any activity you do, that is bound to have some relationship between the outcomes or the objectives. Or somebody can ask you that why are you doing this activity if it is not covered as a part of your objectives, or there are no outcomes related to this. So that means something you want to achieve at the end of that particular period of program. So what you intend to achieve as a in future tense, those you refer to as the outcomes. Now in this education system also, our education system has now drifted from the output-based education to the outcome-based education. So that means when I'm talking about output-based education, I'm talking about the concept of the marks only. Only the marks, the pass percentage. So those are the output parameters. But when I say outcome, that means only the output is not sufficient. The outcome indicates that apart from that knowledge, you also require some component of skill, you also require some component of behavioral aspect that is to be embedded in a student. That is the reason that when you are talking only about the output-based education, and even when the pass percentage was 80-90% or even more, and there are a lot of distinction, still the industry used to say that the graduates are not employable. So that means for employment, for competing in the outside world, it is not only the marks, but it is something beyond the marks, something those behavioral aspects, something that change management, something that teamwork concept, something that some amount of skill required, communication. So you require a lot of things which are all included in the outcome based education. Say for example, if I make a statement that 70% of the students of my class have obtained 80% marks. 70% of the students of my class have obtained 80% marks. So that means this is an output based statement. I'm only talking about the marks that they've obtained, nothing beyond that. But if we say that 75% of the students of my class have obtained desired knowledge, desired skill, desired behavioral aspects, desired value, so that now they are able to work successfully in industry or maybe compete in the outside world, then that is outcome based concept. So moving towards just numbers to some more knowledge, skill, attitude, or maybe the value based things, that we talk about the outcome based education. So similarly, this slide, it just depicts that how different the things are in terms of input, the processes, outputs, and the outcomes when you talk about the OBE concept. Say for example, if you say that someone has published, say for example, 60 papers. Now publishing 60 papers is just a number. How many of those papers are listed maybe in Web of Science or Scopus? What is citation data? How much is the H index? How much is the, say for example, I-10 index? So that means when I am talking about the qualitative aspects, that includes the outcome. But if I am talking only about the numbers, that is just the output. So you will agree that whenever we are working with the students in an education institution, we require more of the outcomes than the output. Of course, I do not undermine the importance of output, but yes, at the same time, you require your student should become successful in the outside world, and that's why should have all those attributes, should have all those qualities that are required to compete in the outside world. So that is the basis of the outcome based education concept. Now this outcome based education concept, we are now working on the NBA accreditation program. So we are talking about this concept as it is there in the criteria, but different regulatory bodies or the accreditation agencies have included the outcome based education concept. You talk about AICTE, that includes course outcomes in the model curriculum. Now AICTE, all of you know that 2 years ago it came up with a model curriculum for the various programs, and that curriculum has very beautifully defined this concept of OBE in terms of the course outcomes, and in terms of the objectives, and also the exam reform policy of AICTE. If time permits, I can show you that. It also talks about the OBE concept and covers the various levels of the various verbs that are to be used in the question paper. For every question paper, how that particular question paper is related to the course outcomes, and then which level of Bloom's taxonomy you're talking about. I think all those concepts are given there very beautifully. So the whole concept is embedded in the AICTE. Similarly, UGC has also given learning outcome based curriculum framework. It has come up with LOCF for various programs. It can be something like your BSc environment or maybe BSc physics. It can be for law, it can be for Sanskrit, it can be for arts. So for various program, it has come up with the LOCF, which very beautifully describes all these terminologies. What are the objectives? What are the learning outcomes? How is the mapping between the courses and the program outcomes? And then, of course, the course outcome for the various courses. Similarly, the National Medical Commission, formerly the Medical Council of India, MCI, it has recommended. Rather, it came up the new version that came up in 2018. The whole curriculum is the competence-based curriculum. It also talks about various action verbs of the Bloom's taxonomy and what are the various levels of competency for each, not only for each course, not only for each subject, but for topic, but for unit. So if out of you happen to go to their website, So you can find that how their curriculum also includes all these concepts. Similar is the case with the pharmacy courses, and also the NAC, that is the National Assessment and Accreditation Council, which is accrediting all the say institutions, all the universities. So it is the framework of NAC also contains various concepts of the outcome-based education, be it program outcome, PEO, course outcome, their assessment or their attainment. Rather, the very first question of the NAC manual, talks about this. So that concept has also been embedded in this. And NBA, you all know, we have been talking for the various, programs for the NBA. So all the programs where accreditation manuals are given, so you will find that the concept of OB is there very much. So what I mean to say is that now as a teacher, as a faculty member, I think all of us must understand this concept, because then only we will be able to implement it in our respective institution, and then only the benefits of this will be conveyed to the students, and then the holistic purpose will be solved in this case. So this is just how the objectives and this outcomes should be there in OB system. So we always talk that the objective should be specific, they should be measurable, achievable, realistic, and time bound. That means whatever objectives you are defining for your particular program, so they have to be it has to be very clear. You should be able to achieve them. They should be realistic. Achieve them when achieve them in the time period, that is maybe 4-year period or a 2-year period, and you must be able to measure them in some way, the direct method or maybe the indirect assessment method. Whereas when you talk about the outcomes, beginning with the end mind. So you are beginning with these objectives, but then just got something in mind that yes, at the end of this particular program, students would be able to do this and do that. That is beginning with the end in the mind. So as I told you, for any program in institution, it can be engineering institution, arts institution. So it is desirable to have the objectives and outcomes at various levels. So the objectives can be at the department level, they can be at the program level, and then for each course you must have the outcome in the curriculum. Fine. So this is just the goals of objectives and outcome. So it is synonyms. More of this we have been talking about the objectives and the outcomes, and the goal is something less point-oriented concept instead of direction oriented. So objectives are direction oriented, and maybe that when you talk, the 2 or 3 objectives can lead you to a single maybe outcome, or maybe vice versa. One objective can lead you to 2 outcomes, but then the point is that it's like a objective is like a direction part, and goal is a point. So when you play a game of hockey or
Sandeep sir, sorry to interrupt, but your voice is breaking.
My voice is breaking. Much. Hello. Yeah, I hope it is better now.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So just tell me again if it is. Okay. So when you talk about the outcome or the expected outcomes, these are statements student know or be able to do if she or he has learned everything in the course or the session. So the result of program operations or activities is produced. We are also talking about the application. Not only whatever a student has studied, but has been the effect of that study. And as I told you, it may be mapped to a specific objective or maybe the result of the objectives. Fine. So now I'll move on to the Bloom's taxonomy. That is a background of all these concepts. So if there are any questions on the basic part, so otherwise I will move to Bloom's taxonomy. Okay. Right. So in the Bloom's taxonomy, we have been talking on the education environments or the
Sorry
educational
to
domains.
disturb, sir, but the voice is breaking.
Okay, then give me 2 minutes. Okay, 2 minutes. Right. Hello, yeah. Is it better now?
Yes, sir. It's better.
Yeah, it should be better now. Okay. So are there any questions before this? See, I don't know when I'm opening my presentation, so the chat box is not visible to me. So you need to tell me if there are any questions. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Sir, as the voice was not clear, can you summarize the content, please?
The voice was not clear for a long time.
Yeah, that time. Can you please summarize the last content?
Okay. Before
Thank
Bloom's
you.
taxonomy, no?
Yes, yes, yes.
See, I was just talking about the importance of this outcome-based education, and that I told you that how this concept of OB is now very much there in the AICT in the model curriculum that it came up 2 years ago. So all those concepts are embedded there. When I say OB, that means the outcome-based concept. That means the curriculum is having now the objectives. Curriculum is having the learning outcomes. Curriculum is having the mapping in terms of the course outcomes or maybe the courses in the PO and some Bloom's taxonomy levels. And the same is there in the AICT's exam reform policy that came up in again I think in 2018. And similarly, UGC has also given the learning outcome based curriculum framework. So all the programs which are like this undergraduate programs in arts, sciences, laws, mass communication, environment, and the PG programs, say it has come up with various booklets where all these things are embedded in those booklets. So as a guidance to the universities, so they can adopt them maybe by aligning their own courses. And similarly, the MCA or even your MBBS courses, so they do have a competency based curriculum where we are talking about the Bloom's taxonomy verbs or the action verbs, and very beautifully the mapping and all those things are given over there too. Similarly, Pharmacy Council of India and similarly NAC, which is accrediting the complete universities or the complete institutions. So they also do have, this outcome-based parameters. Maybe the very first question itself in the NAC accreditation talks about this outcome-based education. Similarly, there are other questions which talk about the learning outcomes and maybe the program outcomes and their mapping and assessment and attainment. And NB we were already talking about. So what I wanted to convey was that now this outcome-based education concept, the concept of learning outcomes, the concept of program outcomes, the terminology. So there should not be any confusions. And I think all faculty members of any area, so you need to understand all these concepts now because they're already there. And not only this, even our NEP talks about this, the National Education Policy. It also talks about all these concepts that how the multidisciplinary courses are to be made available to the students in future. So then I talk about that how the objective should look like. They should be smart in terms of specific. You should be able to measure them. They should be very much clear and realistic, and you must be able to achieve them. The objective should be such that you are able to achieve them in a stipulated period. And finally, the learning outcomes which are at the end of the program, then it is something like you think about them, that what you have to achieve even at the start. So beginning with the end in mind. Fine. So I think that is what I talked about. And okay, this is about the goal, objective, outcome.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. So this. So now let us talk about the background to all these things. That is the Bloom's taxonomy. How this concept of course outcomes has come, how this concept of levels have come, what is knowledge and what is analysis, and why there is importance of all these things in the in our education scenario, in terms of the question papers, in terms of the when you are reviewing your curriculum and so on. So we have been talking about various education environments. But as a whole, broadly, we are working in 3 different domains in the education environment. So which can be like affective domain, psychomotor domain, and the cognitive domain. So when I talk about the affective domain, so it is development in the areas dealing with the emotions and the attitudes. When I say psychomotor domain, it is learning the physical or manual skills or performance of action. So more about the actions, more about the working with the hand, more about the psychomotor. Psychomotor is coordination of eye-hand movement. So cognitive domain is the domain where we all are working upon the intellectual or the thinking skills of the gaining knowledge. Now in all these 3 domains, there are different levels of learning. In all these 3 domains, there are different institutions that they are coming primarily. So if I say affective domain, so what are those institutions? What are those areas which deal with the your behavioral aspects, your emotions? So can you name some institutions? Can you name some such college or such university or maybe such institution which talks about more of a behavioral aspect? One of the institutions that comes to my mind is the hospital. So hospital is an institution which also deals with the behavioral aspect, which also
Hospitality too.
Hospitality, yes, hospitality.
Hotels.
It also covers a part of this. A part of this is covered in hospitality management also. And something like National School of Drama, where you say that how do you learn that how to look happy even if you are not happy. So something like that, where we are talking about emotions and the attitude and behavioral aspect. See, let me give you a very, very simple, I don't know, you will call it a hospital or you will call it an institution, something like a Nasha Mukti Kendra. So those areas, those domains where you change your behavior, where you change your emotions. So development or dealing is in the areas of the affective domain. Of course, you may not be able to count many of them, but still we will come across more. Psychomotor domain, as I told you, psychomotor is the coordination of say eye-hand movement. So more working with the hands, and coordination with your own body parts. So what are those institutions, or what are those actions where you talk about psychomotor domain? Any examples to this when you are talking about more of a skill concept? Say maybe the institutions that come to your mind, maybe the ITIs, where we are more concerned about the skill part. Skill part is also eye hand movement. Skill is something which you should not always take that skill is something skillful is working with hands only. No, skill is also something else. Say apart from this institution like ITI, I would also say that when you send your child to learn how to play harmonium, how to play tabla, how to play table tennis, so those are also institutions. Those are also say colleges or schools which talk about the psychomotor domain. So that means where you are being taught how to control your eye hand movements and then to come across that. Similarly, cognitive domain is that domain where we all are talking about now, where we all are working actually. So we are all working in various institutions, various colleges, where one of our major parts is to impart knowledge. We all teachers are talking about curriculum, subjects, continuous assessment, this and that, examination. ये सब क्या है? This is all about knowledge we are imparting. Some subjects we are telling them how to read this, how to do that, how to do that. So that is a cognitive domain. Now you will agree with me that in all these three domains, there is some amount of overlapping. If you are working in a college, in an engineering college or maybe in a management institution, so you must be seeing that we are not only talking about cognitive domain, we are mostly talking about cognitive domain, yes, but then we are also to some extent talking about psychomotor domain. We are also teaching our students, or making our students how to learn certain skills. Those skills can be running a machine also. Those skills can be how to do some experiments also. So we are also talking about second domain. We are also talking about affective domain in a way that we also want that yes, our students should have values, our students should have a teamwork, our students should have a concept of change management in their mind. So that's why we are having some expert lectures on this also. But yes, most of the part we are working in the cognitive domain. Now, similarly is the concept in the psychomotor domain. So when you go to National Institute of Sports Patiala, or maybe a similar institution, then it is not only that they are being taught only those skills on, say for example, how to play TT or how to play cricket. No, they are also being given the knowledge, the theoretical concepts also to all these things. And behavior is of course there in every field. So what I mean to say is that you must understand that these are three major domains, and we must identify that broadly we are working in which domain, but then all these three domains are interchangeable in a concept that there has to be a some amount of overlapping, and that is necessary also. Okay. So having said this, in all these three different domains, there are various levels of learning. So for example, if you talk in engineering also, or in MBA or in MCA, so there are different levels of learning. You as a teacher, when you sit down in groups for curriculum development or revising syllabus, so you will say this subject can't be there in first year, it has to be in third year, or maybe it has to be in final year. So that means you have something in your mind that what is the level of this particular subject. So accordingly, there are various levels of learning, and Benjamin Bloom, it's quite old now, this philosophy, but of course the new version also come. So it says that the levels are arranged from least complex level of thinking to the most complex level of thinking. So you have to go step by step. And if I talk about our third part, that is a cognitive domain in which we all are primarily working. So these are the levels of learning in the cognitive domain. So you will be surprised that the knowledge is the lowest level of learning. Knowledge, then comprehension, then application, analysis, synthesis, and then the evaluation. Now, why? Because it defines knowledge as remembering of previously recalled material or the facts. Recall the data or the information. Knowledge is nothing but remembering the previously learned material. So if you remember that who is the Prime Minister of UK, if you remember what is the capital of Spain, then that is knowledge. If you remember something about planet, something about geography, history, that is knowledge. So this is knowledge. You grasp the knowledge. You learn the things and then you put it in your mind. When you say comprehension, then it is ability to grasp the meaning of the knowledge being learned. Now you are going to analyze that knowledge further, and in application you are going to apply that knowledge further. When a student, he is there in the first year, maybe many of you might be from engineering colleges or maybe other technical programs. So when a student goes to lab in the first year or to a workshop first year, then you first tell the student that remember, this is called a lathe machine, or this is called a drilling machine, or this is called a milling machine. That means you just ask him or her to first recognize those things. Then you tell the various parts. Then you tell the functions of various parts. Then you tell the application of the machines. And then you tell how those interactions can be there. What else can be done? So beyond that, analysis, synthesis, combining the whole new structure, getting something new, and then evaluation. So these are the 6 levels of learning. So now you as a teacher has to understand, number 1, that this subject should broadly be in which level, and if it can contain 7 chapters, then all those chapters are to be in the different levels. They can be in level 1, 2, or 3, or maybe 3 or 4, or maybe something else. So it is not mandatory, and it is not practically possible also that all the levels of learning are covered in the single subject. But yes, it is expected that the various levels of learning would be covered in the whole program of 2 years, 3 years, or maybe 4 years. So what I mean to say is these levels are only different ways in which you can assess the students through question paper also, and these are the levels which you can put up in your curriculum also, and explicitly you might define them, or it may be at the back of your mind, but yes, this thing is there. Whenever you set up a question paper, you have something in mind कि ये वाला क्वेश्चन जो है थोड़ा सा डिफिकल्ट होना चाहिए क्योंकि बाकी 3 आसान हो गए. So that means in your mind you already set levels. So what I mean to say is you people as teachers are already using these levels of Bloom's taxonomy at the back of your mind, but now you have to reorient them so that you can show to the world that yes, this is what I have written in my curriculum also, and this is what I have mentioned in my question paper also. Now how do you show that? You show, it says that all these levels of learning are basically identified or basically represented through different set of verbs, in each, under each of this category. Say for example, if I say knowledge, that is the lowest level in this, these are the simple words: define, distinguish, identify, maybe the name, recall, recognize, and then you go to the next level: associate, describe, discuss, explain. So I think you will agree with me that these are the different types of verbs, these are the different type of words that you might be using when you are setting a question paper. But yes, you might not be using all the words. Say for example, if I take the highest level, the evaluation, so then there is a word called validate. Now, how many of you use the word validate in your question paper? So I don't know. I don't know how many of you, nobody might be using. Why? Because validate is something, is like a word when somebody has developed something, a new thing. It may be a part of PhD, and then when development has been done, then in the PhD viva you might ask a question that have you validated your results? So that means whatever simulations you have done, or whatever experimentation you have done, have you actually seen whether they are applicable or not? And it is something like like saying that this is a vaccine. Now have you done trials on this? So it means, have you validated this, that yes, it will be successful? So those types of words are going to indicate that what is the level of learning that we are. So these 6 levels, and also I will be telling about something about the new Bloom's taxonomy. So these are to be kept in mind while designing a curriculum, and of course while you are setting a question paper. So these are the 6 levels of learning in the which domain? In the cognitive domain, in the third domain. Similarly, affective domain has also got various levels of learning. So we are not going into that. Similarly, psychomotor domain has got various domains, action based. Is you see the lowest level is the perception. So when you are talking about perception, that means you must be able to visualize that when you are standing at a boundary in a cricket field, then you must be able to visualize that where the ball is coming. That is perception. Then only you will make the movement of your hands. Fine. Similarly, when you are working on a computer and a keyboard is there in front of you, so many of you might not be seeing the keyboard while you are typing something, while you are writing something. That is called perception. You know that where is QWERTY key, so that is a perception. So likewise, things go on to the higher level. Right? So now this is the Bloom's taxonomy that we call as the latest version. That was the old version or the original version. So this is also similar to that. So here also you will find remember, understand, apply, analyze, evaluate, and create. So these are also the similar levels of learning, as you talked in the previous one. And here also you will find recall facts is the lowest level, explain ideas, use information, and so on. Now, what is the purpose of this taxonomy? Why are we using this? Number one is, as I told you, there are different levels for different domains. So in each of the educational domain that we have been talking, so there are different levels of learning, and it encourages the higher order thought in students by building up from lower level. So slowly and slowly you are moving from the lower level. The knowledge is the lowest level, then to the. Now, why only students in class? Why only students in MC, MBA or engineering program? This is a practice of life. When there is a child of 2 or 3 years old, so what is the first thing that a mother teaches the child or tells the child, apart from when he starts saying about the mama or papa? The first thing that a mother teaches the child is to recognize the parts of the body. See, these are your eyes. See, this is your nose. Now, what is that? That is a knowledge. So what I mean to say is, from it's a learning of life. We start from the lower level, then we move on to the higher level. But yes, we have to define those levels. We have to make certain recognitions that how the level is shifting, and also it is used as a teaching tool to help balance the assessment and the evaluative questions. So you make a balance that when you set up a question paper, you might be getting some instructions. Those instructions can be the whole syllabus should be covered thoroughly, and it should be a balanced one. Not all the questions are very simple, or not all the questions are very difficult. So those things you are very easily able to assess and now show also that this is a balanced one. It also ensures that all orders of thinking are exercised in students' learning. Learning means whole learning is of 4 years, of 2 years program of MBA. So in the whole of this learning process, you will find that some subjects are only in the first 2 domains. Some subjects might be in the third or fourth domain, and likewise. So in the whole process of learning, these orders are now ensured, and of course we will see that how they are to be incorporated in the course outcomes. So when you write down the course outcomes, so then also what words you have to use in writing down the course outcomes, you have to be very careful, because it has been observed that sometimes we write course outcomes as a very general understand in every line. No. So it has to be seen that what type of learning is to be imparted, what level of learning is to be imparted. So accordingly, very carefully, these verbs have to be used. Okay. So having said this, this is this is where I could show you that how this is there is importance of this course outcome, program outcomes, and such things, OBE system. So this is the NBA criteria for a UG engineering program. So you find it is there in criteria 1, you find it is there in directly in criteria 3, it is there in criteria 7 also, and maybe indirectly in many others. So similarly, apart from UG engineering, this is for MBA program. Here also you find for the first one, it is there, something in very clearly in the third one also. And then we will also talk about the continuous improvement. There also we talk. And I mean, what these criteria are, some are directly talking about and some are indirectly talking. But holistically, all these are covering this concept of OBE. Similarly, I don't know somebody is there or not from diploma institution, but they are also covered in the diploma institutions for the MBA program, right? So this I am going to skip because somebody else will be teaching this. So I am not covering this part. Yes, if there are any questions on Bloom taxonomy. So before I move on to the next part of my presentation, that is vision mission part. So if there are any questions on this, Bloom's taxonomy levels or Bloom's taxonomy, you're welcome. Okay. So now let us talk about the hierarchical structure. So these are some of the terms that have been very frequently used. We talk about the vision, the mission, the PEO, program education objective, the program outcomes, the course outcomes, their mapping, CO attainment, PO attainment, assessment. So these are the terms which we are very frequently using. And before we move ahead, these terms must be very clear to you, because actually we have to work on now mapping on all these things, COPO mapping, we have to work all these techniques, and then to see that how we are able to assess and how we are able to check up the attainment of the various courses or the various programs. Right? So this is something which shows correlation between the PEOs, POs, and the COs. So you find right starting from the mission, which is like a what you've taken from the vision. You draw the PEOs, so there is a mapping between the mission and the PEOs that you see in criteria number 1 also. And then you have POs to achieve out of these PEOs, and then based on that you have to connect your COs also. So that's what you call a COPO mapping. So all those things are on the base of the graduate attributes. So what exactly are to be the attributes of the graduate? Fine. So what you need to do is you need to philosophically develop the vision mission statements at the institute level. You need to develop the vision mission statements at the department level. Okay. And then objectives or the outcomes maybe at the program level, and then at course or the subject level you need to develop the course outcomes, which we also sometimes call as the learning outcome. So learning outcome is a very generalized word, learning, and it can be at any basic level, but here we will be more talking about particularly about the course outcomes only. Fine. Okay, so this is how there is some cross-function relationship. So that means when I talk about institution vision and mission, it is at the institution level, and it is more related to a body which is something called IQSA, internal quality assurance cell, or maybe any body in the institution that is the highest body relating to the quality aspects. And then a department vision mission, and the PEOs and POs are at the program level. So they can be connected to the department advisory board, DAB, or the program assessment committee, or with the program coordinator. So this department advisory board is just a body in the department itself, with somebody from outside, maybe somebody from your industry, or maybe some from academics. And then a program assessment committee, that means for each particular program, if there are more than one program running in the department, then for each particular program, it is expected to have a program assessment committee, and then program coordinator for that particular program. And similarly, the course coordinator is at the course level. So this comes into picture when there are more than when there is more than one teacher who is teaching a course, maybe a common course like physics or chemistry, mathematics, or maybe engineering drawing or workshop. So there you find that there is a course coordinator, so that all of you can go together. But yes, then all this has to be through the stakeholders interaction. You need to involve the stakeholders at each point of time, maybe by taking their feedback and so on. So if I come to right at the top of the hierarchy, the vision and mission. So you see, vision is like a dream. It is something which you also call as a shared dream. So it is not individual dream. It is a shared dream for the institution, where we want to and what we want to look like when we reach there. So something you dream about the institution, and then based on that dream, based on that vision, the mission dictates the efforts and the initiatives we undertake to achieve the vision. So to fulfill that vision, to achieve that vision, so what are those efforts that you need to do? What are those initiatives that you need to do? So those are the mission statements. And vision and mission statements are correlated and co-created through a collaborative process. That means they are related, means the mission is derived from the vision. So to achieve the vision, you write down the mission or the mission statements. They are to be co-created. It is not that today you have created vision, and then after 3 years you create mission. No, they are correlated and co-created through a collaborative process, through involvement of all, collaboration of all the stakeholders. So you need to involve and treat all the stakeholders equal. So that means you need to seek alignment, not agreement. So everyone is equal. The alumni has got experience of going through all the curriculum, so he or she is also equal. A teacher is also there, student is also there, employer has got his own view. So you need to seek alignment. You need to align your views with each other, not by just saying that okay, whatever you say, it's okay, I withdraw my statement. No, it is alignment after discussion and not the agreement. So vision and mission of the department to be derived from the vision and mission of the institution. So the department is a part of the institution. So to fulfill the vision of the institution, the department also formulates some vision statement and some mission statement, and accordingly, those are to be derived from that. The vision and mission of the department are to be focused on the area of the department. So that means your department might have some specialization. Your department might have some strengths. Based on that, you can formulate your vision and mission, and that's why we say that this should always be followed by SWOT analysis or the SWOT analysis: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and the concerns. So you must know upon discussion that what are the strengths of the department, what are the weaknesses of the department, so that those strengths can be converted into opportunities, and those weaknesses can be, they can be reduced so that they do not become the threats. So this is how you go for the vision and mission statement, and this is just an example of vision mission statement. To produce highly skilled, trained, competent, and confident professions having passion for technology with positive attitude, self-respect, discipline, and an urge to become successful professionals and responsible citizens. So this is just one of the examples. Similarly, this is the mission of the institution. So to provide quality technical education. Now this becomes a mission that yes, to achieve all these things, to produce highly skilled, trained, competent professionals, what I need to do? I need to provide them quality technical education with an aim to produce engineers of high professional competence and integrity, to sharpen creative thinking of students, that with their innovative ideas, they can provide cost-effective business solutions and help build a strong India, to promote practical orientation in close association with successful industrial or business houses. That means you're talking about collaborations. And based on this, now your department can have its own vision statement, maybe for a computer engineering department or maybe something like MCA, to be a center of excellence by producing high caliber computer engineers who possess scientific temperament and would engage in hardware, software, and design activities with the capability to excel. And similarly, this can be a mission of a department. So what you actually do to achieve that particular vision. You see even the extracurricular activities, sports activities, they are also included in this. And also as a responsible citizens, because what I told you initially was whatever activity that you are doing for this particular program, so that has to be connected. So this is connected to your mission that you want to make them responsible citizens, so that the behavioral aspects must be there. This again example of vision and mission statement for a to be premier institution of excellence in technical education and applications for sustainable development. And then mission can be to provide quality education, engineering, technology, foster passion for product development. So this can be, this is just another example. Similarly, to be a center of excellence in technical education can be a generalized vision statement for any technical institution. Or the vision statement, as short as I have seen, is to excel. So you could be in any field, but yes, your vision could be to excel. It can be in industry also. So to excel is another vision that you want to, or another dream that you want to achieve. Fine. So similarly, this is an example of vision mission of a management institution or a B school, to be a leading management institution that contributes to the development of business and society through excellence in grooming leadership, entrepreneurial talent, and research. And this can be its mission. So this is what. This is just some examples that I have taken, just to give you a feel that how do vision mission statements look like. Fine. This you can leave. This is a vision mission of a medical college. Okay. So now is the how do you write down the objectives and the outcomes. So I think this I think this is a part of my tomorrow's lecture. And okay, yeah. So I think let me stop here for some time, and let us have a discussion on whatever we have done. And then if there are not much of the questions, then we will go for the PEOs. But I want you people to discuss and find out how things have been happening at your institution. Okay. So I welcome some questions. Let me check up if there are some of them in the chat box. Okay. Yeah. So I welcome some questions from your side. Or else we move on. Yes, Madam Komal Dahiya, can you coordinate with some questions on this? In terms of the Bloom's taxonomy level that you have been using in your course outcomes or question papers, or maybe part of the vision mission.
Yes, sir. Sandeep, sir?
Yeah.
Tell me, please.
Yeah, that's what I said, that I have finished the second part.
Okay.
After Bloom's taxonomy, vision mission statements part also. So
Okay.
I welcome some discussions on this, some questions on this.
Okay.
because I
All
want
right,
to do
sir.
that part of PO tomorrow.
Okay. Dear participant, in case you have any queries or questions, please put your question into chat box, or you can raise your hands, or you can unmute yourself to ask question. Sandeep sir, we have a question here. What level of Bloom taxonomy will you use for diploma program?
See, the levels of Bloom taxonomy are in general, they are not in particular to any program. So whether you talk about your diploma program or degree program or postgraduate program, the Bloom's taxonomy levels are same. So it is you have to decide that for this particular level or this particular program, up to which level I should go in terms of my courses and up to which level I should go when I am setting question paper. So these levels are common, they're not in particular for any program. Because the similar type of question you will find in your NBA for the diploma programs also. Okay. Yeah, thank you. And that's why I could show some examples of MBA also and engineering programs also, presuming that you people are from both areas or maybe somebody from diploma also. Yes.
Excuse me, sir. Can I ask one question? I'm Dr. Dipali from BPIT New Delhi.
Yeah, please.
So while you were talking about the mission and the these objective statements in criteria 1.5, there is a part where we have to do the mapping of vision and mission in the terms of scale 1, 2, 3.
Yes.
So how that mapping should be done accurately? Because is it required to be either 1, 2, or 3, or that can be in points also?
No, see, number one is that whenever you write mission statement, so for the purpose of mapping, if you write the mission statement in bullets or in numbers, that would be okay. Fine. So when you're going for this particular mapping, so what you have to see is that my this particular PEO, where it is leading me to connecting to that particular mission statement. Say for example, if you got mission statement, 4 statements are there, and then you got maybe 4 or 5 PEOs. So the connection between them, that is whether this PEO will help me in achieving that mission statement, whether there is a connection or not. If there is no connection, then you put dash. If there is a connection, then you need to find out that on a scale of 1, 2, and 3, that what type of connection is that. Okay. And similarly, there are some points which you have to take care when you are doing all these things. Say when you are making this matrix, so as a thumb rule, you must ensure that there is no row or no column which is blank. So if a row or a column is blank, that will mean that there is some PEO,
That is missing.
that is
There is
not,
some gap.
yeah, there is that is not connected.
Yeah.
Okay. And
Okay.
vice versa also, if you are talking about a mission, then there is something missing of some mission is not achieved. So those are the things I think you must take care. So anyway, if you want, I can tomorrow show you some slide on that also.
That would be great, sir.
Okay.
That would be great. Thank you. Thanks a lot, sir. Thank you.
So if there are any other questions. There is a question in diploma level, NBA, beyond curriculum, how to write in theory and practice. I am unable to get the question, but what I could get is that, when you are talking about the program outcomes, so this is what you want, that as an outcome you want your student to learn about or to have a skill about. So that means everything, if you are not an autonomous body, if you are not a university, or even if in the university, every time you are not going to change the curriculum. So you need to teach some concepts which are beyond curriculum. So whenever you are teaching beyond curriculum, you must ensure that those concepts are helping you to achieve the program outcomes of that particular program. Say somebody says that we must change the curriculum because now this has come as a new technology, and then these our students are not. No, these technologies are coming daily in a way that they are moving. The world is moving so fast that if you change your curriculum every semester, then the whole system, there will be some confusion. Control of examination office, the teachers, the students, every semester their curriculum is changing. So I always say that who stops you from teaching beyond curriculum? That means whatever is there in the curriculum, that is as per the requirement, it is there. But then yes, if there is something which you require that this type of knowledge my student should get, then teach beyond curriculum. Or we have a concept of value-added courses. That means those courses which are adding the value to the overall development, overall personality of the student. So in those value-added courses also, sometimes we teach those newer concepts, those newer technologies that are there in the industry or that are there in the market, so that those beyond curriculum activities can be taken care of. So this is how we do, not only in diploma but in degree program also. Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir, for being with us, for guiding and making us aware about the concept of outcome-based education and motivating our participants for the same. Your presence was informative, sir. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So, dear participants, next session will start at 2:30 on the topic, the role of values and ethics. So we have a break of 1.5 hours, sorry, approximately 1 hour. So see you at 2:30. Thank you.